Hello everyone, I hope you all are doing well by God's grace. Today we'll be doing your poem Miracles, which is written by Walt Whitman. And as the title suggests, Walt Whitman is acting like a narrator and he is telling us about all the miracles that he comes across. The central idea of the poem is that we should appreciate everything in life, no matter how small or basic it is, and we should not wait for some big thing to happen to consider it special or miraculous. Basically, this poem has two parts. The first part is where Walt Whitman is talking about the miracles which he comes across in city life, or the miracles which are related to people. And then the second part is related to nature. Here he describes all the miracles he comes across which will be related to animals or stars or moon, related to nature. So these are the two parts in which the poem is divided. We'll start by reading the stanzas and then I'll explain the meaning side by side. Why? Who makes much of a miracle? As to me, I know of nothing else but miracles. Whether I walk the streets of Manhattan or dart my sight over the roofs of houses toward the sky, or wade with naked feet along the beach just in the edge of the water, or stand under trees in the woods, or talk by day with anyone I love, or sit at table at dinner with the rest, or look at strangers opposite me riding in the car. So in the beginning of the poem itself, the first line, Walt Whitman asks, why do you make so much of a miracle? Means, why do people think that miracle is something big which happens? Something very unusual happens which we cannot explain, we consider that to be a miracle. But Walt Whitman says, if you ask me, according to me, everything I come across is a miracle. And then he talks about when he walks in the street of Manhattan, which is a very busy place, and he sees people of all kind around him, he feels that it is a miracle. He also talks about being able to glance at the tall buildings which have been made by man. If we take the example of Burj Khalifa, it is such a tall building, and I've not been there, but if you've seen the pictures, it feels very exhilarating to stand on top of such a tall building where you can almost see the clouds around you. So yeah, to be able to imagine that a man has made this, it is something very grand. Man has been able to use his intelligence to make cities, and he needs the raw material, and the raw material man cannot make on his own. He finds it in nature itself, and that, he says, is where the miracle comes in place, because you can plant a seed and you can make a tree grow, but you cannot make a seed, right? So the seed has to be there. So he says all these little things that we are so used to and we take it very normally and casually, but all these things are actually miracles provided by God to us. He says that if he is able to stand at the edge of water when he is standing on a beach or wading in water, means he feels it's a miracle that he is able to stand on the edge of such a big water body. Then he feels that it is a miracle if he is able to stand under the woods. If you have seen big jungles, then you can know that it is a very magical experience, that you are standing in the middle of lots and lots of big trees and you feel so tiny, and then you imagine that all this has come from a small seed, and that makes you feel like, wow, this is something very amazing. Next, he starts talking about how he considers that the people he comes across are all miracles. Here he considers the ability to love another human being as a miracle, the ability to feel love and to have that feeling of a family, and to be able to communicate with them. We can talk with each other, we can express ourselves. So he thinks that this feeling of love and being able to talk with each other and being able to eat with the family, this also comes around the miracle. If he's able to drive in the subway and when he looks at the other people who are driving, the strangers, that is also kind of a miracle. Now we'll start with the next paragraph. Or watch honeybees busy around the hive on a summer forenoon, or animals feeding in the fields, or the wonderfulness of the sundown, or of stars shining so quiet and bright, or the exquisite, delicate, thin curve of the new moon in spring. These with the rest, one and all, are to me miracles, the whole referring, yet each distinct and in its place. To me, every hour of the light and dark is a miracle. Every cubic inch of space is a miracle. Every square yard of the surface of the earth is spread with the same. Every foot of the interior swarms with the same. To me, the sea is a continual miracle. The fishes that swim, the rocks, the motion of the waves, the ships with men in them, what stranger miracles are there? Like you can make out from the lines I've just read, this talks about the miracles related to nature. According to Walt Whitman, nature is an emblem of miracles. Emblem means a symbol or sign, something which stands for. He feels that nature is filled with miracles. Everything you come across in nature is a miracle in itself. He talks about the honeybees which are busy around the hive on a summer forenoon. Forenoon is the time, early morning time, when it is not very hot. It is before your afternoon. And then he talks about the animals which are feeding in the fields. He thinks that this is also a miracle. After talking about the animals, he comes to talk about the sun and the moon when he refers to the wonderfulness of the sundown, and he says that it is a very beautiful sight. If you have seen the sunset, you will know that it is actually a very beautiful scene. And he says that that wonderfulness of the sundown is also a miracle. He talks about the stars shining so quiet and bright, like if on a very clear night when there are no clouds, if you look at the sky, you will see n number of stars twinkling there. They seem to be so quiet, but still they are so bright. They shine like anything. And he says, according to him, this is also a miracle. Or the exquisite, delicate, thin curve of the new moon in spring. You all know the phases of the moon. So one phase is there where it is a very delicate, thin curve. He says that it looks very exquisite, something which is very beautiful. And he says that also is a miracle, that how the moon changes the phases. He is not talking about everything which happens in the nature, because the list will be endless. There are so many things which are at this moment also, so many things are happening simultaneously around us, so he cannot make a list of all the things which are happening. So he tries to conclude by mentioning only these few things, and then he says that these with the rest means which I've not mentioned, the activities which what all happens in nature, one and all to me are miracles. He is including everything which happens in this one line and referring to that as miracle. The whole referring, yet each distinct and in its place. Here he means that although everything he is talking about comes under miracles, but each of the miracle is still distinct, means it is different from each other. Every miracle is distinct, it is different, it is special or specific, right? So although he counts all these under miracles, but there can be some complex miracles, some very simple natural things which happen, but all these are having their own place in the world, in the universe. So although we can count them all together, but yet each one is different. Like if I talk about you, you are all a class, right? You're class 10th, but if I have to consider you individually, then each one of you is different. Finally, he's talking about a few more things when he says that to me every hour of day and night is miracle, means there are 24 hours in the day, and each hour how the time changes, it is dark, then it is light. So he says this is also a miracle for me. Every cubic inch of space is a miracle. Now he's not even talking about the earth, he's not restricting himself, he's even talking about the space. We might know almost everything about the earth, but when it comes to the space, there is so much that we still don't know. We are like a tiny, tiny dot in the entire universe or the space. So he says that if we start considering each cubic inch a very small measurement, even that area is filled with so many miracles. Every square yard of the earth is filled with the same. If we walk, or if we consider a square yard of the earth, there are n number of things which are happening over there. Animals, insects, plants growing, so many things simultaneously. So he says, let me not even take into consideration the entire earth. If I even think of a very small space, even that is filled with miracles. Every foot of the interior swarms with the same. Now he is even talking about the core of the earth. If we know about the core, we have studied that in science. So he says, if we go inside the earth, every foot of the earth is also swarming. Swarming means like the bees swarm. So here swarms means filled with. What all is happening inside the core of the earth, that is also a miracle. Finally, he comes to talk about the sea, and he says that according to me, that is a continual miracle. Continual miracle means something which goes on and on and on. And then he talks about the fishes that swim. He thinks that the aquatic life, it's a miracle. So many aquatic animals are there. Fishes, if we consider, there are so many types of fishes, colorful, so different kinds. We don't even know each one of them. So that is also a miracle. Then he talks about the rocks which are around the sea and the waves of the sea. He talks about the ships with the men in them. He means that if we think about it, sea is such a big water body, and on something so vast, a tiny ship is able to float with men. So he thinks that that is also a miracle, that there is water everywhere and a human being or the people are able to survive on a ship. And then he finally says that what stranger miracles are there. So basically he started the poem with a question, and he ends with a question as well. But in the middle part of the poem, he has given us reasons that whatever happens around us is a miracle, no matter how basic it seems or how for granted we take it. But if we come to sit and think about it, we will realize that it is a miracle. So in this poem, Walt Whitman is clearly trying to make the people or the readers appreciate life, and by mentioning all the little things which we don't find special, but he tries to mention them and make us realize that this is not something simple that is happening around you. This is something special, and this should be considered as a miracle, because only God is making all this happen. We cannot make it happen on our own. So yes, he is trying to teach the readers not to take life for granted and to appreciate everything in life. Also in this poem, the poet is trying to express his amazement at how people react so differently to the term miracle, and he's amazed at how people wait for something very exceptional to happen and then refer it as a miracle. So here Whitman is just trying to teach the readers the feeling of gratitude about everything in our life. Coming to the rhyme scheme of the poem, this poem is having no rhyme scheme. It is based on free verse. He has not done any kind of rhyming. I hope that this poem is clear to you. In case if you have any query, do let me know. God bless you. Love your parents. Stay home and stay safe.